Welcome back to CBS 2 News. For many, of course, the holidays can be a real time for indulgence, maybe even overindulgence, whether it's spending too much on gifts, giving up on your diets, eating too much, drinking too much. And when the new year comes around, many people make resolutions, and one of them is to clean up their act. But why not start before the problem becomes big? That brings us to our newsmaker of the day. Joining us live from the newsroom is addiction specialist Dr. Scott Davis. Doctor, thank you for being with us.
Thank you very much.
I want to talk quickly about myself. I go to the CBS 2 party last night. Wonderful affair. I had to come in and do the 11 o'clock last night, so I said I'm just going to have one cocktail, kind of enjoy the spirit. Somebody put a second in front of me, I had it. So I kind of broke my rule. Do a lot of people do that?
Many people do. Many people do. The problem with drinking, of course, is that one can set themselves to drinking one or two drinks, and very quickly their judgment and their concentration, their focus gets impaired. And one or two drinks leads to more.
I was fine, but what are you saying then? I mean, when people go out to holiday parties, is it not a good idea to maybe set a limit there and tell yourself this is what I can have, not one more? Or are you saying sometimes you fail yourself, I guess?
Well, many people do fail themselves, and it's very important to set reasonable limits, knowing what your capability is as far as one's drinking. Yeah. But it's also important to have a lot of accountability. Yeah. If one feels that they're going to be drinking a little too much, probably the best decision is is taking a taxi to a party, having somebody else drive.
What about people who are problem drinkers, Doctor, alcoholics? Is this a time of year when many of them fall off the wagon, perhaps?
It is a very, very common time. Unfortunately, the holidays can be bright and merry for a lot of people, but for many others, particularly those that are suffering with addictions and alcoholism, it can be very depressing.
So what do you tell? And I know it's hard to generalize, and it varies for, say, an alcoholic. But do you advise most of them to stay away from this type of party? I'm sure many of them go to parties, have a delightful time, and don't fall off the wagon.
Yes, particularly if they're in early recovery. It would be best to stay away from that type of slippery environment for many people.
Okay, so we're talking about it, and it happens every year, right after the New Year. Everybody has these new resolutions. All the health clubs fill up. But I guess the time really is to start right now. And, you hear the old cliche, but moderation is truly the key, right?
Moderation is definitely the key, yes. And again, knowing what one's limits are and setting really realistic limits, and having that accountability to not be relying on your own judgment when you're going to be drinking.
Yeah, and we've concentrated on alcohol, but very quickly, I mean, food is another problem. A lot of people overindulge food over the holidays.
Very, very, very common. Food and alcohol, of course, go hand in hand, and when one starts drinking a little bit more, alcohol actually improves digestion, so it makes one feel that they can eat more, and it becomes a vicious cycle.
By the way, I think I was fine last night on the 11 o'clock news, but I agree, you have to watch it, and certainly watch any drinking and driving. Have that designated driver.
Absolutely.
Dr. Scott Davis, addiction specialist, thank you for being with us. Happy holidays.
Thanks for having me.
All right.
Thanks.
Your CBS 2 Money Report coming up next. Stay with us. More news, more on.